a Trump voting woman has turned on MAGA. Speaking to CNN, Buffalo resident Betty Szretter explains why she is now regretting her vote for Donald Trump.
Betty, you voted for President Trump. Do you regret that decision based on what we're seeing?
In terms of food insecurity, I do. I believe he's doing a great job with the border. But right now, the border's not affecting me. Right now, it's affecting my daughter, the fact that she needs a SNAP and she won't be getting anything for November. And like I said, she's a type 1 diabetic, and we want to represent all the other diabetics out there or people with chronic health conditions that do need this food. And they may not have a safety net. They may not have relatives to fall back on. We know many people, Hannah knows people that don't have relatives to fall back on.
Let me ask you, Betty, because we're going to be speaking with a Republican congressman right after you and I had this conversation, one that's very close to President Trump. What is your message to lawmakers right now, Betty?
I would say restore funding for SNAP. And I believe the Trump administration, instead of focusing on presidential ballrooms, should be paying attention to individual Americans' dining rooms.
Okay, so Szretter's daughter is a type 1 diabetic. She's had that since the age of 10. She's unable to work. She also has a mental health condition. And so Betty, who is now 63 years old, she retired to be Hannah's full-time caregiver. Now, why is that important? Why am I giving you the details about their family dynamic? Well, she is an illustration of what I had been saying every time I talk about who is on the SNAP program. She's one of the 42 million Americans that rely on this program. Most of them are children. Most of them are people who are disabled. And the remaining amount of people, a small percentage of them, are people who are caregivers to elderly or disabled Americans. Okay, that is who is on the SNAP program. That is who is being denied their benefits as a result of this shutdown, a Republican shutdown. They decided we are not going to extend ACA tax credits for the millions of Americans that need it. And they also decided when the government shut down that they were going to try to not tap into the $6 billion contingency fund to pay benefits. Now, they were forced to do that, okay, while continuously voting against giving people the full amount of their SNAP benefits. That's a recent vote that just happened, okay, where Democrats are like, okay, we're going to present a bill that is going to make us pay the full amount of SNAP benefits for November for every single American that needs it. And Republicans said, no. We're going to vote against that. We're going to vote against giving people food. We're going to vote to take food out of the mouths of needy Americans until Democrats decide to relent and allow us to, reopen the government without any promises that they're going to extend those ACA tax credits. Okay? If Democrats give away their leverage on this, those tax credits, they're not coming back. All right? That's one of the problems. So because of Trump and the Republicans, Americans like Hannah are not getting the help that they rely on to eat. As for people like Betty, who voted for this, the consequences of their actions are finally hitting home. Remember, she is a Trump voter. She likes what Trump is doing at the border. She says, I totally support that. But then mentioned, well, what's going on at the border isn't affecting me now. Well, Betty, it never affected you. You see, immigrants were not driving an increase in crime. In fact, immigrants actually do less crime than native-born Americans. The crime rate is actually down. Not only that, but they're not stealing your jobs, okay? They're doing the jobs that a lot of Americans don't do. They were not taking your welfare, okay? They're not taking welfare. They're not taking SNAP. They're ineligible for any of that. They're ineligible for Medicaid. Okay? You have to be an American citizen to get those programs. All of those arguments, and why I am talking about that, why I'm bringing them up, is they were things that Trump lied about during the election in order to get your vote. You gave it to them, and now the leopards have come to your door, and they're looking for your face. Okay? That sucks, by the way, because look, I didn't want this to happen. I warned people, don't vote for this guy because the leopards are going to come for your face. And it happened. And now that it has happened, now suddenly you care because it is hurting people that you care about. It is hurting you. It is hurting your family. It's one of the same reasons that Marjorie Taylor Greene is now out there saying, oh, maybe we should, extend these ACA tax subsidies, right? Because, oh, my daughter's affected. Yeah, it is important to point out that a lot of these Trump voters that are turning against him, they voted to hurt other people, but now their vote has come to affect them. Now the decision that she has made is hurting her. This is not to rub it in. I don't like that. I don't like to see people suffer. Okay, but this is what happens when you vote for Republicans. You vote Republicans in office, you vote for suffering. That's what you do, okay? And you know that. You know that what you're voting for is suffering. You just didn't think that you were going to be the one to suffer, okay? And that's the sad reality of the situation. Now, that said, she was asked, okay, now, knowing what she knows now, would that change your vote?
Betty, will this experience impact your voting decisions in the future?
Well, it depends on what the administration does in the future. It may. Like I said, there's certain things that I'm thankful that Trump has done. Mm-hmm. But in terms of just basic food insecurity, I believe he has to make some changes in order to do what he said. I think he promised to lower prices for Americans, and I don't see that happening right now.
Yeah, and it's not happening right now, and it won't ever. Okay, now, as to whether or not she would vote for Trump again, okay, she said, well, that depends. That depends on what Trump does. That depends on if he's, going to make the economy better. Well, then, if that's the case, then you might as well register as a Democrat right now because Trump ain't going to do anything to help you. Anything. See, he doesn't care about you. He just needed your vote. And now that he's got that vote, he's building ballrooms. He's hosting Great Gatsby parties, which is a level of irony that should be very, very well noted and criticized. Okay? Because as people like Hannah go without their full SNAP benefits, of which they need to survive, especially with a health condition, all right, like diabetes, Trump is out there throwing parties to showcase his excessive wealth and privilege. And again, it shouldn't be a surprise to any of you because this is who he has always been. We told you, you didn't listen, but hey, now you are. Good. Look, this shutdown, yes, it's been hurting a lot of people. I mean, all the, hundreds of thousands of Americans that have been furloughed, that have been working without getting paid. That sucks. But you know what? This shutdown has finally grabbed your attention. And that's a good thing. Okay? Now, and what's really important here is that there's a lot of propaganda about this. I said earlier that it was a Republican shutdown, and that's true. But Republicans have been violating the Hatch Act and trying to blame Democrats for the shutdown. And it's not working. The latest polls show 52% of voters believe that Republicans are responsible for the shutdown. 42% blame the Democrats. Trump's disapproval ratings during this shutdown have also hit their highest level ever. 63% of Americans are dissatisfied with Trump's job performance. I also mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene earlier, who had this to say. I can't see into the future, but I see Republicans losing the House if Americans are continuing to go paycheck to paycheck. She said in an interview a couple of weeks ago, quote, they'll definitely be going into the midterms looking through the lens of their bank account. Yes, that is true. And look, It's not just Marjorie Taylor Greene, by the way. It's also Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who said, quote, unquestionably, we should take political peril seriously. There is a lot of energy. There is a lot of anger on the left, and elections can be dangerous when one side is mobilized, is angry. Now, what Ted, of course, doesn't see, I guess he missed the whole part of where it's actually not just the left that's angry. You got a lot of angry MAGA folks, okay? People are mad. In fact, let me show you a couple of examples of this, all right? Brenda Sue Cooper says, Dear President Trump, I voted for you because I thought you would close our borders and make America great again. Which, by the way, closing the borders does not make a country great, okay? It actually hurts a country because immigration is good for a nation. And that you love the American people. How can you make this country great again by cutting all the programs for the poor? Me and my family depend on those programs to survive. Making people homeless and starving and unable to heat their homes in the winter is not going to make America great. Making people on disability without a limb get thrown off Social Security does not help, it only hurts. We are not rich like you and cannot survive without these programs. Please leave welfare, our welfare, and Social Security alone and do what I voted for you to do. I was a Democrat and turned Republican when Obama got in, racism, and made a mess. Please don't make me regret voting for you. Sincerely, Mrs. Brenda Cooper. I got another example here. Jane Hutchinson. I voted for Trump, but I don't think he gets how many people this is affecting. My kids, my ex-wife, my friends, their families, their grandparents, all the wrong there. Their grandparents, friends, and families. Come on, Trump, snap back into shape and get us our snap. Government assistance isn't there because it's maybe they can do without it until we figure things out. Come on, you're there. Oh, that's the right there this time. Because the people put you there. Believe when I say there is absolute power in numbers and you get enough of us in need where we have to stand up. It ain't the smart way to go. Come on, U.S. government, let's figure out things for us all. Look, generally, yes, I want to see SNAP benefits restored for everyone. I believe in those programs, and it is funny to see the people who vote for Republicans who depend on these programs, first continue voting for Republicans who have made, no bones about wanting to get rid of these programs. It's always their go-to. Wow, we got to cut, stuff. We got to cut these programs. We got to cut SNAP. We got to cut Medicaid. We got to do all that. We got to get rid of it, But then, of course, they have to lie about waste, fraud, and abuse, and they have to lie about who gets it, claiming that, it's, illegals. They get all the Medicaid, which they don't. They don't get Medicaid. They don't get food stamps. They don't get any of these federal programs, okay? They don't get federal dollars. They do sometimes if the state decides we're going to extend some of these things, then yes, specifically they can get state money, but they do not get federal money. Not a dime. Not a dime in federal cash. Okay? And so now, look, I really don't think that these very heartfelt posts from Trump supporters is going to make a difference. Why? And it's because Trump doesn't care about the poor. He does not care about the poor. He only cares about the rich. That's why the only big promise that he really went through with was to give himself massive tax cuts. The same thing that he did in the first administration, by the way. Also, the only thing that he really pushed through was tax cuts for himself. They were conned. Hey, what do you think happens when you trust a con man? You end up getting conned every single time. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. This is what happens. Now, that said, speaking of con men, okay, in the next segment here, I'm going to talk about how MAGA Mike Johnson is trying to con people into believing that oh man, I just don't pay attention to all these different, Trump controversies. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what's going on. I have absolutely no idea. All right, well, let's take a look at that. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.